Terry coverage of the Ally 400 practice and qualifying for the NASCAR Cup Series at the Nashville Super Speedway. As we get ready for on-track activity for the Cup cars for the first time this weekend around this 1.33-mile oval just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, about 50 minutes outside of downtown Nashville. In Lebanon, Tennessee for this weekend's events. The Truck Series race already in the books after last night, and they had their practice qualifying yesterday, and practice and qualifying for the Xfinity Series just wrapped up about a half hour ago. Clear skies for today's forecast, 89-degree temperature, humidity at 64%, wind just over 5 miles per hour. But the feel-like temperature is where the temps are going to be very high as well, but the humidity and the feel-like temperature over 100 degrees for practice and qualifying this afternoon. It will be even warmer when the drop of the green flag flies for tomorrow's 400-mile, 300-lap race. Take a look at the point standings coming into this one. I'll show you on screen right now, as we are still a few minutes away from any cars hitting the racetrack for the first time. Kyle Larson comes in as the points leader, at least tied for the points lead with Chase Elliott. The tiebreaker is wins. So with Larson having 3 wins to Elliott's 1, that is why Larson leads. Larson has ran one less race in the points compared to any other full-time driver in the Cup Series, of course missing the Coke 600 at the end of the month of May. Due to running the Indy 500 in replacement and all the rain issues that came apart that Memorial Day Sunday. 8 stage wins on the year for Larson. That's the most in the series. He's also got the third most top 10s in the series, or fourth most top 10s in the series. So he isn't really consistently finishing well, but when he finishes well, he's finishing in the top 5 a bunch or competing for race wins. 8 top 5 finishes, that is the most in the series, and he's led the most laps as well to go along with all those stage points he's scoring this year. 755 laps led for Larson coming into this weekend. Has to be one of the favorites to win this race. Hendrick Motorsports has won 2 of the 3 races here at Nashville Superspeedway in the Cup Series within these last 3 seasons, and Chevrolet has won all 3, with Larson, Elliott, and Ross Chastain being the 3 winners. So we'll see if Chevy can quadruple down and get their 4th win in a row at this racetrack here this weekend. Outside of the race for the regular season championship with Larson and Elliott being a tie, Denny Hamlin's third in points, minus 40, minus 48 points for Martin Truex Jr. in his final full-time Cup season, and Tyler Reddick is minus 60 points. Of course, you can score as many as 60 points in one race if you win both stages and win the race. We saw Christian Eckes do that in the Truck Series race last night and led every lap as well, so congratulations again to him. As far as the playoff standings go, the drivers who are locked into the 16-driver playoff field with a win or multiple wins would be Larson with 3, Denny Hamlin with 3, Christopher Bell now has 3 after his third at New Hampshire a week ago, and William Byron has 3. So 4 drivers with 3 wins on the season. Nobody has 2 wins on the year. It's either 3, 1, or 0. The other drivers who have 1 win on the season include Chase Elliott at Texas, Tyler Reddick at Talladega, Ryan Blaney a couple of weeks ago at Iowa, Brad Keselowski at Darlington, Daniel Suarez at Atlanta, and then Austin Cindric a couple weeks ago as well at Gateway. So those are the drivers locked in with a win into the playoffs. Still have several drivers who could lock themselves in on points. As of right now, we have had 10 different winners on the season. Martin Truex Jr. comes into this race highest in the point standings without a win. He's over 2 full races above the cutoff line. It would take a catastrophic failure for these final 8 races of the regular season coming into this weekend for Truex to fall below that cutoff line. Ross Chastain, the defending winner of this race, still winless this year. He's 9th overall in the driver's standings, but he would be 12th on the playoff grid if that started today. Ty Gibbs comes into this race with a pretty stellar season. Most of those top 10s he had was very early in the year, though, so now he has fallen outside the top 10 of the driver standings. He's 13th on the playoff grid. Behind him is Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, and Joey Logano. Joey Logano finally above the cutoff line after gaining a spot in points last week on Bubba Wallace. They swapped that 16th place spot in the standings. So Joey Logano is now the last driver above the cutoff line, and Bubba Wallace is the first driver out. The separation in points between those 2 drivers is 13 coming into this race here this weekend. Chase Briscoe's minus 25 points. He would be the next driver out behind Wallace. Kyle Busch is starting to fall back even further in the point standings. He's 45 points back, and just over 1 race worth of points out is Josh Berry and Todd Gilliland. So those are the top 20 in the point standings going into top 21, I guess, technically, in the point standings coming into this weekend again at the Nashville Super Speedway. And although there is a Super Speedway in the title, it is an actual intermediate track, but not a mile and a half. Again, a little bit less in length than that. It is a very wide racetrack by way of multiple grooves. We'll see that groove probably widen out to the wall by tomorrow's Cup Series race as rubber continues to build on the racetrack here this weekend. A lot of on-track activity again already today with practice qualifying for the Xfinity Series. Now we'll have full Cup practice and qualifying as well before that Xfinity Series race a little later on this afternoon. Quite a few drivers running in multiple races this weekend, most of which in the Cup and Xfinity Series race for this weekend. Those drivers would include A.J. Allmendinger, Ross Chastain, Ty Gibbs, Noah Gragson, Riley Herbst in the Cup race for this weekend. Tyler Reddick and John Hunter Nemechek. A lot of Cup regulars in that Xfinity field. We'll worry about that as we get into the Xfinity race broadcast in a few hours from now. We'll begin our coverage there at 5 p.m. Eastern. Cars are on the racetrack, though, for the first time today as practice has just began a little less than 60 seconds ago. Nobody's really up to speed yet other than Kyle Larson, who will be the first to complete a lap at full speed for today's practice session. Group practice is back. Of course, we've had several 50-minute practice sessions or full practice sessions over the last several weeks. But back to the group practice as we are at a returning racetrack for the first time with no repave or anything of that nature like we had with Iowa being a new track. With Sonoma being a repave, we had a full practice there. And then New Hampshire last week, practice got cut short after just 5 minutes. They were going to combine everybody into one full practice because qualifying had already gotten rained out. And again, they only got about 5 minutes, maybe even less than that in before the rain came. So back to the group practice and group qualifying like we would usually see. Bubba Wallace to the top of the charts on the first lap. We're going to see this leaderboard shake up quite a bit over the first 5 laps or so of practice here. Now, Larson, in his win in 2021 at the Nashville Super Speedway, obviously, it was the first race here, dominated that one. He led over 300 miles of the 400 miles in that race. I think he led like over 350, 360 laps. I remember going to that race. It was definitely a dominating performance by him. Nobody could really compete with him, but it was a great battle for second throughout the course of the entire race. It was literally Larson versus the rest of the field on that Sunday. Larson being the points leader as of right now, tied for the most wins. You wonder if that could be another thing that could happen here this weekend. That was also in a full day race where we haven't really seen at Nashville since 2021. 2022, the race started in the daytime, ended in the night because of a lengthy rain delay mid-race. And in 2023, it was scheduled to be a complete night race starting deeper into the evening hours. So this race is going to be a full day race, at least barring any rain for tomorrow. There is a 50% chance, at least as of according to the Weather Channel yesterday when I looked. I haven't looked yet for today if that has changed in the percentages side of things, but that is something to keep an eye on here going further into the weekend. Ty Gibbs now is the fastest, so a couple Toyotas at the top of the leaderboard. Only 4 Toyotas total in Group A. Very minimal Chevys, a lot of Fords in this first group. The 18 drivers in this group would include Ty Gibbs, Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Todd Gilliland, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Michael McDowell, Tyler Reddick, Alex Bowman, Josh Berry, Noah Gragson, A.J. Allmendinger, Eric Jones, Zane Smith, Riley Herbst, Justin Haley, Chad Fincham, and Ryan Preece. Full field this weekend as well. We will have 40 cars in the field. It'll be the third time this season we've had a full field, and only the first time that we've had a full field on a non-Crown Jewel event. Of course, the other full fields we've had this season was the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte and the Daytona 500 back in February to start the season. Had 42 entries for that one. 2 of them went home with the dual races that Thursday. Then we had 40 entries total for the 600 and 40 entries total here this weekend at Nashville as well. That's 66 cars, the one Chad Fincham is driving, so MBM is back this weekend. The other non-chartered entry that is in this group of cars would be the trying to find who it may be. Might not be a full field here. It's showing 20 on my list, But Justin Haley and Chad Fincham haven't made a practice lap yet, so it might be... Nope, Fincham has made a lap. I'm missing somebody here. Driver, that 15 car, I believe, is a chartered entry for Rick Ware Racing. Justin Haley may not be in this group, and that could be the issue that we're seeing on screen with the raw feed. Other non-charters of 50. So there's only 38 cars in the field this weekend, not a full field of 40. Sorry for that. I saw 20 on 19 and 19. But that is why Justin Haley hasn't made a lap yet. That's because he's in Group B and not Group A. So about 6 minutes complete in practice. Ty Gibbs still at the top of the board. Ford of Ryan Blaney right in between the two Toyotas that were initially on the top. Highest Chevy in practice is Ross Chastain in 4th currently. And the fastest lap time that was ran by Ty Gibbs was a 30.059, an average speed of 159.287 miles per hour. That was on his 3rd lap. He has ran 9, who has ran 10. He's 6th fastest overall. Least amount of laps we've seen from anybody would be Riley Herbst and Chad Fincham running 3 and 4 laps a little bit later to get out on the track in practice. Waiting for maybe a little bit more rubber to get laid down on the track first before they go out and make some laps. Of the drivers who have made 10-lap runs so far, Ryan Blaney has the fastest 10-lap average of anybody on track. Through the have made laps. The other 19 will be in Group B. Quick reminder to hit that like button if you guys haven't done so yet. Our goal is to get to 50 likes. So again, 50 likes is the goal for this stream here today, with the practice and qualifying all in this stream together. 311 Racing though. Plus it is this weekend. I know the 50 car is usually the money team. Maybe there's some sort of an alliance there. I don't know. Ronnie 24 Ever, Simon Poe, JoJo, thanks for tuning in. Dan Bauer, Santiago Kid. So welcome to the stream, Richard Carr Sr. And Johnny Reynolds, also thanks for tuning in. Appreciate everybody that stayed up late to watch and listen live to the live commentary of the Truck Series race at Nashville. It was our 2nd most viewed Truck Series live commentary stream this season, only behind Daytona back in February, so greatly appreciate that. We've been setting a lot of stream records on the channel the last several weeks for the season. We had our most viewed race at Iowa 2 weeks ago, followed by the most viewed race last weekend, which topped even the Iowa stream with the New Hampshire Cup race as well. So I just want to give a big shout out to everybody that tunes in for these live commentary streams every weekend and helping grow the channel along with me as we move across the course of this 2024 season. Only halfway through the Cup Series season, 18 races down, 18 still to go on the points races side of things, and 8 remaining, of course, here in the regular season. Ty Gillen had a big moment in turns 3 and 4 a couple laps ago, just brought it straight to pit road as soon as he had to make the save. Car jumped up the racetrack, got a little loose. Luckily was able to make the correction without wrecking. Saw a couple wrecks in truck practice yesterday in the evening hours. The hotter, slick racetrack. For the Xfinity and the Cup races this weekend, you're going to see a lot more daylight than what we had in the truck race yesterday. So definitely higher track temps from start to finish of the race for Saturday and Sunday. Seeing Riley Herbst in the Monster Energy colors for some reason made me think it was Ty Gibbs when they first showed him until he passed by the camera lens and he saw the 15 instead of the 54. A little bit relatively the same. It actually looks closer to those Ricky Carmichael days, the Monster Energy schemes he had back in the Truck Series when he drove the Ford truck, early 2010s. Halfway through Group A practice, 10 minutes down, 10 minutes still to go. Ty Gibbs is still the fastest overall. I don't think you're going to see the overall lap time change during the group session of qualifying. When we've had full 50-minute sessions, they would have 2 to 3 sets of tires, but in this case, only one set of tires. So the leaderboard you see for Group A should stay the same. You're not going to see the leaderboard jump a lot more until the Group B cars hit the track for their first few laps. So again, that 30.059 lap time from Gibbs, his fastest. His last lap, which he ran, which was his 18th, was about 7/10 of a second slower than his fastest lap. So we are seeing fall off here at Nashville on this fairly old concrete surface. Although nowhere near the tire fall off than what we saw even in the Truck Series race last night. It would have about a second and a half of fall off over the course of a 25 to 30 lap run, which were some of their longer green flag runs of that race. Gibbs' lap time also about a little over a tenth of a second quicker than Ryan Blaney's fastest lap, which, again, Blaney is second overall. Top 10 as of right now through Group A, halfway through their practice session, has Ty Gibbs first, Ryan Blaney second, Bubba Wallace third, Ross Chastain fourth, Todd Gilliland is fifth, Kyle Larson sixth, Joey Logano seventh, Austin Cindric eighth, Michael McDowell ninth, and Tyler Reddick 10th. So again, that is the top 10 in practice. We'll take our first ad break of this live commentary stream while it's a full screen commercial break on the USA Network for today's practice and qualifying session at the Nashville Superspeedway. You're listening live on KRC. Kamui Kobayashi ran the number 50 Coda. Was it the 50 car? Because I know they've had the 67 in the past. Zach Powers, Frank Powers, both the Powers, thanks for tuning in. Let you listen into some of the practice coverage again on the USA Network if you're wondering where you can watch that visually once I get back from this full screen commercial break. Sure, Rick Allen, Steve Letarte, and Jeff Burton are the three in the booth once again. And tomorrow's Sunday Cup Series race will actually be the first on NBC this season, although they have taken over the second half of the Cup schedule. The first two of their races on their sister network at the USA Network for the races, but again, tomorrow on your local NBC affiliate is where you can find the Cup race at Nashville, the Ally 400.
Josh Berry will be making his first series starts. Josh Berry from Jeffersonville, Tennessee. He cut racing at the Nashville Fairgrounds, actually. Earlier this week, he went back and was running back there again, and he's the 4, and you see Ross Chastain in the 1. Trade a little paint. Super late model race. These guys are going at it. This old fairgrounds, been a lot of history made over there. Fun to get back to your roots and go back short track racing. Darrell Waltrip spent a lot of time racing the fairgrounds in his Hall of Fame career. So we see both those drivers out here on the mile and a third. Ross Chastain, last year's winner, on the bottom, and Chastain currently 4th fastest for a lap. A close call right there is you saw the 22 on the apron and ended up being 3 wide there. I don't think they wanted it to be that way. Josh had a really good run last week in New Hampshire. Don't know what he's doing next year yet. Stewart Haas Racing closing the doors, and we do know now. After you're going to say it's official, the help from Christopher Bell, that was a week ago Friday, when he threw that information out at us that Chase Briscoe was going to drive for Joe Gibbs Racing next year in the number 19. But that's the only one that's really been, I guess, we found out what his future will be.
It's been a great opportunity for Josh Berry to work with one of the most successful crew chiefs in the Cup Series, Rodney Childress, and those two have done a nice job together.
Want to listen into the radio of the 48 of Alex Bowman.
Yeah, I just can't commit to throttle on exit. I steer the back. I'm a little tight across the center of 1 and 2, but exit of 4, I'm really loose.
It's good feedback. You know, he's just talking about, I'm sure he has more issues than that, but he does a nice job of being very pointed of this is what I need to fix right away to improve the car. And you see him all the way down at 13th on the fast lap. And I would say it's not that just that he lacked a fast lap. Overall speed kind of matches that. I think it got a little bit better, maybe the second attack at it, but definitely looking for a little bit more grip out of the 48.
There's Austin Cindric. Two drivers out of Team Penske that have made it to victory lane.
Kittle didn't win a race. Well, you know, before that win, the same could be said about this team. And, you know, at this level, if you, on that right day, these drivers and teams are good enough on their best day, they get the right something happen for them, they can win races. So, you know, he showed, and that team showed that, you know, if you run well all day long, anything can happen. And that, you know, everybody talks about how two drivers fell out, had issues, and that's why he won. But they ran great all day. So that's how you win races, is putting yourself in position, and that's what they did on that day, Kim.
Yeah, they were in position, primed, and they struck with that gateway victory, and they really chalked up their season to inconsistency. When I talked to Austin and both his crew chief, Brian Wilson, they said, you know, they've struggled to find that consistency this season. And so now that they're all but locked into the playoffs with that gateway win, the most important goal for them is to be consistent week in and week out. They made a great point. They said getting into the playoffs is one thing. We've checked that box, but staying in the playoffs is another. And Austin is looking for more, especially if they want to go deep into the playoff run.
We're taking a look there at what happened. Laney, before he took the white flag, ran out of gas, and that allowed Austin Cindric, running in that second position, to be able to get right by and get the win.
We talked a lot, and also talked about the fact that, you know, it's been harder than he thought it would be, and it's been a struggle, and that's no fun. But he has won 2 Cup races. One of them being the Daytona 500. Right. So, you know, it's hard. This is a very, very difficult sport. If you just take that step to this level, it's very good. But at the end of the day, he's won 2 Cup races.
It's amazed me how the approach to these practices now in our second year, these 3 practices in groups and then qualifying, how it's changed. You know, Jeff, when it first started, we were like, what are we going to do in 20 minutes? What are you going to learn? I'm not sure. I thought the teams will learn anything. And now when you look at the laps that he's run on board with Joey Logano, right? And he has already run 23 laps, right? And he's doing that in, you see right there, 120-degree temperature. But the number of laps these teams, Ty Gibbs has run 30 laps already. So this is a very long run in a very short practice. Noah Gregson, 34 laps. That's a good-looking car for Noah Gregson.
And it's fast. And we talked about Josh Berry having really good pace. Another Stewart Haas car here having good pace as well. 34th lap of 30.79. That was one of his not so great laps, but they've got good pace.
I had a long conversation with Drew Blickenster for about Noah, and I think this is a good combination, right? Drew could tell he seemed very accurate with what the team's good at, what he was good at as a crew chief, what Noah could do as a race car driver, where they all were lacking a little bit. You know, it was a great evaluation of the race team, but he says it, and I believe it. He goes, you know, the beautiful thing about Noah, he's lighthearted. He's around the shop. The team believes in him. And you never question his desire to run fast. The pedal's pushed down. He goes, at times you have to almost pull the reins back a little bit and manage it. I think that's been the improvement out of Noah Gregson. What I've seen is just lack of mistakes. I think he has always had pretty good pace. But now he just misses, you know, and I mean a big mistake, like one slow lap or bad in traffic.
Blaney second fast in the first group, Group A. It was Ty Gibbs who was the fastest, running about a 30 flat.
We saw early in lap right behind him. They're also continuing their lap. These Cup guys, they're going to run to the red flag or red and black and then probably do a practice pit in.
Yeah, what you hope, if you want to practice pit road, you hope that everybody in front of you carries enough pace to where you can sail it down in there because to simulate it, Blaney's off pace, but to simulate it, you have to launch it down in turn 3 at full speed.
Yeah, Blaney almost like lifted to pick a gap. Joey Logano missed pit road. I watched him out the window.
Ross Chastain almost missed it.
So Group A is complete. And we'll be getting ready for Group B. Nashville Super Speedway opened in 2001 and had gone 20 years before a cup race. This one will be the 4th this weekend.
So Ty Gibbs fastest overall in Group A practice. Ryan Blaney second. Bubba Wallace third. Ross Chastain fourth. Todd Gilliland was your fast 5. Group B about to begin here shortly. They'll get 20 minutes as well, and then we'll roll right into single car qualifying after the fact. Appreciate again everybody tuning in. Only been live for a little less than a half hour now. So greatly appreciate everybody tuning in on this Saturday afternoon for Cup practice at the Nashville Super Speedway for tomorrow's Ally 400. Halfway through our practice session. Well, Kyle Busch won a race this season. I saw Simon Poe ask that in the chat. I mean, the way they've ran so far doesn't lead me to believe that they'll get a win, but this kind of feels reminiscent to the 2020 season, where Busch was kind of outside the top 10 in points for most of the year, had an early playoff exit, and then ended up winning a fuel mileage race at Texas. And that was his only win that year, but he was able to strike through into victory lane. This is kind of very similar to that season for what it feels to me. So while I don't think the speed is capable of getting a win, and I don't think they could turn it around that much with half the season remaining still, considering a lot of the tracks that we have left, we still got quite a few short tracks that are left. While that might be Kyle Busch's strong suit, obviously that's not been the case for him at Richard, almost at Richard Petty Motorsports, Richard Childress Racing. So I would lean towards no. But you just never know. I mean, he can get a super speedway win in there. We've seen him win with RCR and super speedway Talladega last season. There's been a lot of speed at RCR in the super speedways. They had a lot of speed at Daytona again this year back in February. Even Dega, he was out there towards the front for a large portion of the first half of the race. The way the pit cycling, was, and then the grid locking, he couldn't really get back through the field after he lost track position in the final stage. But the speed is there, at least on super speedway. So remember Atlanta, he was in that 3 wide finish as well. So I think if Busch is going to win a race this season, it's going to be on a super speedway. Hate to have to bank on one of those to get that win, to keep that streak alive of winning every single season he's ran full time in the Cup Series. But I think that's going to be his best chance. Could happen, though. He's still got 3 more. So the 19 drivers who will line up for Group B practice will be Chase Elliott, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Justin Haley, Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, John Hunter Nemechek, Brad Keselowski, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chris Buescher, Daniel Suarez. After Suarez, Carson Hocevar, Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, Harrison Burton, Corey Heim, and Corey LaJoie. So those are the 19 drivers now about to hit the track for Group B practice on the USA Network.
It's just as it continues to be. These guys are so good. Even on old tires, they're looking at 5/10 of fall off in 30 laps. So you have to have a real efficient day on pit road, and with your strategy restarts, it's going to take everything.
I like that shot that we were on the spoiler of the car. That'll show you how close you get to the wall here. Take another look here.
A lot more.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. carrying this camera. Mike is expecting within the week. And so they've got a driver that's standing by, Anthony Alfredo, in case he does go into labor. Ricky will be able to go and be there for the birth of his first child.
And to this week, what they're having. So we don't know. Gonna be a surprise.
Well, you said that.
To the top of the chart, complete. No surprise there.
Concrete, Denny?
To say, but they could use a little bit of a turnaround. They were okay last week, but when the rain came, they sunk. It was not a good match for the 11 teams. Sonoma, he put some great memes out there, but he barely was in that race. He ran 2 laps and broke a motor. Iowa, he got into an accident.
Well, they were
kind of got run into when Kyle Larson got wrecked. So it's been quite a streak since 11 came in.
Yeah, Iowa, I think all the Toyotas were aggressive on the tires originally, and then when they made the adjustments, they may have overcorrected. Just weren't that competitive at Iowa after that.
Art Trex Jr., you mentioned it earlier, Rick. You know, Christopher Bell let it slip. And so Chase is going to be filling that car. And then they announced officially this week it'd be Chase Briscoe. I like that choice for Joe Gibbs Racing. I think Chase, Christopher Bell, they seem to kind of, from the dirt racing background, I think that's going to help some of the team chemistry. Well, he's a good choice. This group a little faster than the first group. Track conditions probably continue to change. It's Corey Heim in the 50 car. This is a third entry for 2311.
Second fastest, third fastest now. So a lot of speed right off the bat.
Third in the truck race last night.
And Kim, how's the track conditions going down there?
Well, there's like, as usual, but you guys mentioned a lot of fast cars out here right now. And when I talked to drivers this morning about the challenges that Nashville Super Speedway presents, the one thing they all agreed on is that it's a very hard track to get a feel for because it's so slick, because you're sliding around. You don't always know if your lap was fast or slow, so it's really easy to underdrive or overdrive the car. So, Steve, as a crew chief, what kind of information can you share? What kind of data can you share with your driver besides just, oh, that was a good lap, to make sure they're repeating the fast lap when they can't get a good read on what the timing is?
I think this is a really important, they can all see the other driver's data. SMT is a company that basically shows you when they're on the gas, when they're on the brake, how they're turning in. And this is a track that it's very subtle, right, Rick? I think if we put the driver data over one another, to the fan at home, they might say that's the same. But for a crew chief or an engineer who's looked at hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of data sets, they try to get a little bit of, hey, you're a little fast on entry, or you're overslowing the car, or you are adding too much wheel. Now, Jeff, I think you're driving it how it needs to be driven. So what do I need to do to the car for you to adjust those things? That's the conversation back and forth. And that's why that relationship is so important.
Yeah, it's dangerous at times looking at other drivers' data because they're not driving the same car, especially when you're outside of your company, right? You don't know what setups in the 6 car, but internally, if you're everybody, all the drivers at RFK, those two guys want to sit down. They know what is in each other's cars, and then you really can start learning from each other. Crew chiefs and teams can learn from each other well, and that's where that data becomes very valuable.
We'll be embedded with the 16 this weekend as well as the 9, Chase Elliott. It'll be fun to listen in to Matt McCall, TJ Majors, the spotter for the 16, while Brian Keselowski fights out on the racetrack in stage 2, and then also there's TJ. They're trying to keep out of the sun up there on the spotter stand right now, but
one Phil gonna be better here for a little better. You want to go to the left lap? That's that little bit of information there, Steve, is so important because when you're driving that race car, you know how fast you're going, but you have no idea how fast everybody else is going. Is this pace good enough? Is running that 47? How is that? Car feels great, but is it good? And that information to him, hey, that's as good as anybody when he ran the 50 something, and then he went and ran a 47. So Brad knows that's a good pace.
TJ Majors, longtime spotter for Dale Jr. I've worked a lot with TJ. Him and Brad are great friends. So no surprise when Dale retired that, it wasn't a direct thing, kind of went to Logano and moved around, but it's no surprise that TJ and Brad ended up working together.
don't you have to be the best man? Isn't that the way it works?
Well, that's the story.
You got to be the best man to be the spotter for Brad and actually Joey Logano. But both have their best men now spotting for them.
Yeah, and Brad and TJ actually, they have daughters here the same age. They spend a lot of time together. And I don't think that helps when you're running good. I think that helps when you're running bad. Like when it's really bad, the guy in your ear, Jeff, right, you just believe what he's telling you. You know he's trying to be on the right side of the challenge. Although this 6 car, 30-44 last lap, I mean, when I compared him to who I thought the best car was, I think
his lap's the most impressive. He is flying. And look at his hands, right? So a little bit of movement on the wheel there, a little bit free off. Watch him on corner entry. All the way out to the wall, stays out forever. Never gets to the yellow line until halfway through the corner. That shows he has rear stability in the car to be able to do that. Very little hand movement. He is really comfortable making these lap times.
And while Brad is out here putting together some blistering laps, his teammate, let's listen in on the radio of what he was discussing.
Yeah, not a good image from the runner. Injury is always here. Especially one issue, like you're not able to get down to the bottom. The county other guys are through there. Well, Steve, imagine that. You're secure on entry, which means you're happy there, but it won't turn the middle.
Yeah.
You know, and what do? You have to, unfortunately, you have to kind of hurt the back of the car a little bit at times to get the car to turn the middle. But what he's saying, if you're my crew chief, what I just told you is I am pretty safe on corner entry. We can make some sacrifice there to try to get the front end to work better.
Corner entry, basically right here off the gas, middle. Right here, front's compressing. You see him just turning the wheel. Not a lot of correction. A little bit of correction when he touches the gas, but nothing too concerning. A tight race car always looks easier to drive, but that doesn't make it look better, right? Because there's just very little a driver, I think, to do when the car's tight, other than don't go faster than the front tires can work. That's a pretty helpless feeling.
There's Chase Elliott, the other car that we'll be embedded with tomorrow, as far as for that second stage. Looking at Chase Elliott work here. Chase Elliott currently 8th fastest for a lap here in this practice session.
Ty Gibbs is the fastest overall, but Brad Keselowski is the fastest so far in Group B. He's 12th overall with a 30.378 compared to Gibbs' 30.059. I think a lot of that has to do with maybe a slightly cleaner racetrack. Maybe all the debris, whatever, left behind from the Xfinity Series practice qualifying session was swept up in between their practice qualifying session and the Cup Series practice qualifying session, means they had over a half hour of downtime between the two. Because that really is the only thing that could explain to me why there are so many Group A drivers fast in Group B. Again, Keselowski 12th overall, but fastest in his group. Denny Hamlin, second fastest in Group B so far. Corey Heim would be third fastest. Chris Buescher, fourth. William Byron, fifth. Those are the fast five for Group B. Overall, Ty Gibbs is fastest. Ryan Blaney, second. Bubba Wallace, third. Ross Chastain, fourth. Todd Gilliland, fifth. Kyle Larson, sixth. Joey Logano, seventh. Austin Cindric, eighth. Michael McDowell, ninth. Tyler Reddick is 10th. AJ Allmendinger, 11th. Brad Keselowski, 12th. Josh Berry, 13th. Alec Corey Heim, 17th. Chris Buescher, 18th. William Byron, 19th. Martin Truex Jr., 20th. Christopher Bell, 21st. Chase Elliott, 22nd. Corey LaJoie, 23rd. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 24th. Eric Jones, 25th. John Hunter Nemechek, 26th. Carson Hocevar, 27th. Zane Smith, 28th. Kyle Busch, 29th. Ryan Preece, 30th. 31st for Harrison Burton. Justin Haley, 32nd. Daniel Suarez, 33rd. Daniel Hemrick, 34th. Riley Herbst, 35th. Austin Dillon, 36th. Chase Briscoe, 37th. And Chad Fincham, 38th. So that is the full field practice lineup. No caution so far in practice through both Group A and Group B. And we still have a little less than 10 minutes remaining in Group B's practice session before we get into single car qualifying. Again, you're listening live on KRC to Ally 400 practice and qualifying for the Nashville Super Speedway. We'll take our second ad break and continue the commentary to the finish of practice over the next several minutes.
We continue from this Speedway. We go this session. There's Christopher Bell back out on track. I actually ran into Coach Gibbs this week, and jokingly said, "You're going to be telling Christopher Bell any more of the changes that might take place with Joe Racing?" And he just started laughing. And he said, "We're not even letting him in meetings anymore. There's too much information he could give out." So he had this fun. Well, a weekend he had.
You want to be forgiven for perhaps leaking a little information? This is how you do it. You go out, you win your 4th out of 4 Xfinity Series starts at a racetrack, and then comes back in the rain and wins again in the Cup car. And something felt different. We ended up doing a lot of drivers. I think he had the best car, and he was sitting 9, so he'd do anything to get back on the racetrack. But he looked giddy to get out there in the wet. And I think even with wet tires and all that conversation, the best car still won the race.
Yeah, I just like where Christopher Bell is at this point in his career. He's comfortable. He is confident. He's always been quietly spoken. He's always been a little bit shy and very reserved. But as he's become comfortable with being a full-time Cup driver and a guy that can win races and compete for championships, he's starting to be a leader also. He's starting to step up and in the garage have a voice. Try to do things to make the sport better. And he has just supreme confidence, and I just really like where he is.
We've seen a lot of confidence out of Christopher Bell, especially when he makes it to the championship 4. As far as running for a title, it was last year where he had the brake issues that took him out of contention for the title. But he does seem to have more confidence now. Knows that he's comfortable being there, and he should be there. Fighting for a championship is something that we're now expecting to see out of Christopher Bell. And again, he's one of the 4 drivers that have won 3 times already this year. Kim, how about Keselowski in that 16?
Yeah, we're going to be embedded with them this weekend and give you all the inside info, which gives us, some privy to some insider stuff, including the fact that spotter TJ Majors is wearing a cool shirt. So we talked about the drivers in the cars wearing a cool shirt that pumps cold water all around their torso to keep them cool inside the car. Well, you think about the spotters, they're literally baking in the sun for 400, 500 miles following these races. And this weekend, both spotters for RFK are wearing that cool suit. I have to imagine, though, TJ's kind of hiding it, so we don't know. But they are, in fact, wearing the same cool suits that we'll see on the drivers tomorrow.
I think that's a genius idea. Mental focus. They're not up there running, but their mental focus on top of the roof has to stay tip top. And I think core temperature. There's so many studies, right? That's why athletes try to be in great shape. You make better decisions when your body's under less. So having the spotter in a cool shirt's a great idea.
It's interesting. It must be, some sort of battery valve or something. Maybe even it's be interesting to see how that works. But there's a lot of pit crews I think could use that as well. When you think about those guys, they sit behind a pit wall waiting to do pit stops, and they're sitting there waiting, and they're in that. I think it could be beneficial for them as well.
The joy at the 7 sits 9th in practice. Spire, big commitment, 3 cars this year. They moved into the old Kyle Busch Motorsports truck shop, very impressive facility to run their cars and trucks out of. Big wiggle for 7 right there.
Loose on exit.
So, keep it loose. Sometimes if you're a little tight in the middle, you end up getting wheel in it, and then you step on the gas, and that kind of forces it loose.
John Hunter Nemechek, another one of the drivers doing double duty. They'll be racing the Xfinity Series here this afternoon.
It's a lot of laps on a hot day.
Practice and qualify the Xfinity cars now. Practice and qualifying here for the Cup car and then race.
Harrison Burton. He was one of those drivers that ended up 14th last week. Thought he did a nice job. They were in a real good position, and then on the wets, lost a few spots. But mostly kind of on the last restart. I looked like he ended up starting on the bottom. The bottom looked a little damp. The high line kind of held the bottom lane in the damp. I thought he could have been inside the top 10. The last restart definitely didn't go like he had hoped. He's looking for a little of that Team Penske magic. Wood Brothers, this car is prepared out of the Penske shop. Jeff, you mentioned it, when you see somebody like Cindric win, right? For a guy like Harrison, it's got to keep you going to say, hey, we just got to continue to kind of find improvements, try to find some track position.
That's right. That's your motivation, right? That's why you're here, is you're trying to put yourself in a position to win races. And then, think about somebody like Kyle Busch, who, we expect to see winning races. It's been a struggle for them so far this year. See what they're talking about. And get the roll speed where it needs to be. The balance is okay. I try to carry momentum to carry my power. A little bit free on the four with the left front messes me up just a little bit.
That's great feedback. And Jeff, what I heard was, if I get the speed of this car in the middle of the corner to what is acceptable, the car's not bad. But when I have to hustle it, when I have to either carry a little more entry speed or ask a little bit more to find lap time because, A, we're not fast enough, because you're never fast enough, then the car does this. I thought that was really, really good. That's what I love to hear out of Kyle Busch. A lot of made about his blow-ups on the radio and some comments in the media center. He's a fiery driver. But when he's calm like that, that's like Kyle Busch at its best.
Has this car developed faster than Kyle Busch can keep up with it? Because with the old cars, he used to work on them. He used to know everything about those cars. This new car, it's developed to the point where has it developed faster than he can keep up with?
I think it's a style more than a development. I think even the old car, he might have thought that he knew everything that was going on, but these cars got to be such aerodynamic platforms that the engineers are who where the cars were set, platform-wise. Kyle said a few times in the media center that just this car, what it needs for a driving style, is not natural for him. Chase Elliott said the same thing. Remember when Chase was kind of in a little bit of a dip, he said, man, I know what the car needs. I'm having to relearn how to drive the car because it's not how I want to do it. And Kyle's kind of said the same thing, Jeff. In your career, tire competition or rules package, did you ever just have something?
I went through major slumps in my career and then came out of them. And, I would say that, I don't think it's only this car. Like, if you look at the back end of when his time at Gibbs, the performance wasn't Kyle Busch-esque either. There had been a fall off in performance. So, and he's a realist. Like, he cannot have the Kyle Busch confidence that we know of him because, yeah, he won a championship at that time. And
great shot at just how busy they are in there trying to get it down.
They're not just riding around in there. Let me go to pit road.
No.
Yeah.
So it's difficult, is what you're saying, to get to pit road? Well, Brad Keselowski, guessing, is going to agree with you. Missed it.
All right, so Ty Gibbs again, fastest overall in practice. Ryan Blaney second, Bubba Wallace third, Ross Chastain fourth, Todd Gilliland fifth, Kyle Larson sixth, Joey Logano seventh, Austin Cindric eighth, Michael McDowell ninth, Tyler Reddick 10th. All those drivers were in Group A. Fast five from Group B would be Brad Keselowski, followed by Denny Hamlin, Corey Heim, Chris Buescher, and William Byron. They were all in the top 20 overall, but again, the speed overall lap time wise dropped significantly from Group A with a slightly cleaner track at the beginning of practice to Group B with a more rubbered-in racetrack. So we're about to get into qualifying. Your first 9 that will qualify for Group A would be Chad Fincham, followed by Riley Herbst, AJ Allmendinger, Zane Smith, Noah Gragson, Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, and then maybe even Michael McDowell. If they do 10 drivers out of the gate, will be the first to qualify after the commercial break. So as we begin qualifying here, we'll take another ad break. You're listening live on KRC. Practice qualifying stream here for the Ally 400, tomorrow's Cup Series race. Trainsgate 1024, thanks for tuning in as well. His frustrations with Busch, I can imagine would be very frustrating watching your driver struggle this bad. Remember the very tail end of Greg Biffle's career at Roush. First ever NASCAR race I ever went to was Michigan 2015, the August race. Grandpa took me up there for my birthday that weekend. It wasn't on my birthday, but it was the weekend of my birthday. And first ever NASCAR race I'd went to. So I never really got to go when Greg Biffle's winning a bunch of races at Michigan all those years. Won 4 times in the Cup Series there. But yeah, I never got to see any of those. I got to see him run in the back half of the 20s the whole race. Oh man, that was. I remember watching more just to watch him, and I was literally watching him the whole race. I wasn't really watching much of the battle for the lead, or there wasn't really much of a battle for the lead for most of that day. Pit strategy late, Austin Dillon had gotten himself up towards the front, finished second to Matt Kenseth. Kenseth ended up winning. But yeah, I know the frustration for sure. At least like when Ryan Blaney went winless in 2022. One, he won the All-Star race, so he won something that season. Uh, even though it doesn't count for points or anything. And two, he did make the round of 8 of the playoffs. He was still very, very consistent throughout the year and competing for wins. It wasn't to this extent like we've seen with Kyle Busch, where he's having some sort of an on-track issue every week, whether it's an incident, a lazy spin, no speed. Definitely going to be a tough time to be a Kyle Busch fan. Just never know when it can turn around, though.
The trials continuing. Sha'Carri Richardson, she will be out there for the 200 meters. She won the 100 meters already. Noah Lyles on the other side, he already won the 100. He's the world champion in the 100 and 200 meters. His semifinal a day ago was impressive. Beat second place in his semifinal by about 3 yards in the 200 meters, which is a lot. So that is later on this evening. Make sure to tune in for that. And now let's go down to pit road. Kim.
Yeah, Rick, last year was Ross Chastain celebrating a win at Nashville. You were part of Group A for practice. You know what it takes to win here. What did your car have and what do you need?
Well, my car has a really cool paint scheme with Busch Light and celebrating country music here in Nashville with some artists that Busch Light works with. So excited to have some of them out tomorrow. But as we get back into the car, it feels just as slick as it did last year. It didn't do anything magical last year to win. We're close. I think we're a little misbalanced, just a little tight here, a little loose there. But we're really close. I mean, I'm splitting hairs here, so and I don't have many on my head. They're all on my beard. So as I work through, with my team and with the mics and with Phil and with the greater Trackhouse group, we're trying to be diligent about not having this like glorious memory of last year because it was just another race car and it got tight and it got loose and we're similar. We're a little bit off, I feel like, but we're close, and I think we'll have a shot to go to round 2 here and see. It's really easy to miss the yellow line though, and if you do that, it's going to be a lot of lifetime loss.
To dissect that answer as you will to find out what Ross Chastain has here at Nashville Superspeedway.
So as we take a look at combined fastest laps, you see the top 10 were all from Group A. So Ty Gibbs, Blaney, Wallace, Chastain, Gilliland, all the fastest came out of that first group. So does that mean that we're going to see it be a little bit more difficult for that group when they go out to qualify? So to duplicate those speeds?
Well, I think that's the point, Rick, right? I mean, all that tells me is that Group A's racetrack was in a different condition than Group B by quite a bit. Jeff, you even pointed out that Group B, there was a little more tire fall off. We both think that's kind of either the temperature or the Goodyear rubber kind of smearing into the concrete. So I do think, though, to your point, Rick, if you're one of those Group A drivers, you're going to get the biggest shifted track when you go out here now. Not only are you qualifying, but the overall grip level is going to be a little bit hard to adjust to.
So can we make a prediction? Can Ty Gibbs be the fastest? He was in Group A, he was fastest, but will he be able to duplicate that in this qualifying effort?
Oh, I think he can. I'm not predicting that he will because it's so competitive, but they definitely have the pace.
First car rolling as we get ready to set the field for tomorrow's race. First out will be Chad Fincham. We had mentioned double duty drivers. Chad will be racing and primarily races in the Xfinity Series this afternoon, but he is making a rare start on the Cup Series side.
Yeah, his last start was all the way back in Kansas in October of 21, to your point, Rick. Knoxville just down the road. One button stop, you can get all the way to Knoxville.
121 miles. When you say just down the road, it's 121 miles, but yes, he's from the state of Tennessee, so great to be back in his home state.
Pretty interesting to see. We saw shifting in race trim. Chad shifting gear. I assume with the pace, they'll still be shifting in qualifying, but it'll be interesting to see what the faster cars do.
First time put in by Fincham is 32.70.
Jeez. It was well over a second off the pace in practice.
Riley Herbst comes out on track. He's another one of racing the Xfinity Series this afternoon.
You heard Ross Chastain talk about how it's going to be really difficult to miss that yellow line in qualifying, and I think that that's even more difficult for a guy like Riley that does pretty limited experience in these Cup cars. They drive completely different than an Xfinity car. You know, how much grip does this thing have? How much is it going to have more than we did or less than we did in practice? Those are things that you just don't know. 30-65, let's see how that stacks up.
That's a little faster than he ran in practice, and Riley Herbst making just his third Cup Series start this season. Jim.
And all we're hearing is how hot, slick the track is. So with that in mind for these qualifying laps, what's the level of commitment it's going to take to get a pole-winning lap?
You have to commit a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's hot and it's slick, but you're still going to be really committed to getting down in there and get through the rubber right. Like, I think it's you can see it on TV. It's getting pretty dark and this much heat. It just really cakes rubber on the racetrack. And qualifying picks it up a little bit, but it's still going to be normal qualifying. You got to ship it down in there and downshift and hit it right. But happy with our Menards Ford Mustang. I thought we had pretty good speed in practice. I felt like I handled it okay. I don't really think anyone was happy with their handling, with it being so slick, but that's what's going to be like tomorrow. So should be a fun qualifying.
I love his approach there, right? Because he almost hot, slick. Yeah, those are all great storylines, but it doesn't matter. We're still going to have to drive a certain way. And then he talked about how the rubber and the temperatures affecting the rubber caking up. He thinks it sounds like his entry and getting either across or into that tire rubber is going to be the key.
Down to the apron for Zane Smith on his lap. Putting third at a 30.77.
So these cars going out early, you know, they all had teammates. So now that information is flying, you know, from this team to all the other teams in their company.
I like how this 10 car looked at practice on the race pace, good long run speeds. Well, I think it's kind of hard to say because that line is a little higher than you would expect off two.
Right now comparing to Allmendinger in the green for Noah Gragson.
So what is the goal? To your point, Steve, is it to get on that yellow line or not? Well, clearly, Ross Chastain has that in his head that he's got to get to that yellow line. He thinks that's where the majority of the grip is.
30.32 for Gragson. Noah picked up a tenth of a second from what he practiced at. We're going to start comparing to fifth. So you'll see a pretty wide margin here as Wallace is on the clock. Luke Combs on the hood. The biggest superstars in Nashville right now. Luke Combs from Huntersville, North Carolina.
See what this is. That looks pretty quick.
Second quick. 30.45 for Bubba Wallace.
Greasy, tight. It's a low grip, front more limited than the back.
How do you guys feel about this paint scheme on Alex Bowman's number 48?
I like it.
It's bright. I'll give him that.
There's some guitar picks on here, some music notes. You notice how rocker panels are painted? Dale Jr. thinks that that's his signature. He thinks Ally asked him to help him with his car, and he said that if anybody sees that where it's painted, those rocker panels are painted down there, They'll tell you that I helped design it. So Bowman's lap 30:28. Big lap there for Alex.
Riding on board now with Joey Logano.
117 inside the cockpit for Logano.
This team caught a break last week. They had a problem, but everybody, most of them around them in the points also had problems.
Trying to look at his dash.
Reached up, saw him shift gears, but then he reached up and made an adjustment of the brake bias adjustment down the back straightaway.
I don't think Joey's going to love this lap right here.
47.
Yeah, 30-47, fourth with a bunch of cars to go. Kim, how about Logano's teammate Cindric?
Yeah, after his practice run, he did tell the team that between 80 and 90% throttle, the engine is amiss and that they needed to check on it. So how alarming would that be to you if you were hearing that from your driver?
Well, they play a lot of games with the engines tuned up in certain throttle positions for fuel savings. So it'll be interesting to see if there's something like that or if it's just something that's amiss in the engine. So we'll see what they have to say about it.
How much can they change the mapping for these?
A ton. A real lot.
Cindric, with that lap, his fastest. 30:25 for Austin Cindric. And big qualifying continues after this.
Fast 5 as of right now for Group A has Austin Cindric in first, Alex Bowman second, Noah Gragson third, Bubba Wallace fourth, Joey Logano is fifth. A 30.251 was that lap by Cindric. Everybody making one lap of qualifying here. Any track bigger than 1 mile in length, which includes, of course, Nashville being a 1 1/3 mile oval, you only get one lap of qualifying. Still got 10 drivers to put a lap down in Group A's qualifying session. Those 10 in this order would end up being Michael McDowell, followed by Ryan Preece, Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney, Todd Gillen, Ty Gibbs, Ross Chastain, Josh Berry, Tyler Reddick, and Kyle Larson. So trying to make it into the top 5 so they can have a shot to re-qualify for the pole. Again, everybody in the top 5 will re-qualify for a shot at the pole in round 2. Positions 6 through 19 in each group will be designated to their starting lineup based off of the group that they are in. So Group A, position 6 through 19 will line up on the outside row. Group B will make up the inside row, again, positions 6 through 19. But the top 5 from each group will get a chance to re-qualify for the pole to set this top 10 in the starting lineup there. No on-track incidences through practice or what we have seen so far in qualifying, so that's good. Hopefully that stays the same. Drivers trying to find the edge and push the boundaries on their qualifying laps here. Fastest lap overall we've seen today was Ty Gibbs from qualifying, got into the 30.0s, so we'll see if anybody will drop down below a 30-second overall lap time at all here in qualifying through both Group A and Group B. Usually what we see in qualifying is the Group B drivers will be quicker than the Group A drivers. So we'll definitely see if that will be the case again as well. When they hit the racetrack. In practice, it was the Group A drivers that had a cleaner racetrack or something of that nature because the top 11 times in practice were the fastest ones from Group A. And Keselowski was fastest overall in Group B, was 12th overall in practice from his group on.
Towel and the cowboy hat.
Hey, he's got the Xfinity race next. That's a cooler towel. Rick?
Okay.
Please just slack.
Hey, I was down there just for a minute, and I'm not picking on anyone in the heat.
This is McDowell on the clock now. And again, we're comparing to 5th. Again, the top 5 will make it to the final round.
So the two best cars so far, Cindric and Bowman, they were able to wrap that yellow line that Ross Chastain was talking about. McDowell was just able to do it Right there, left side tires right at the yellow line. That's where the grip is right now.
Yeah, that was a really good corner. Got back to the gas pretty quick.
Third fastest for Michael McDowell at 30:29. Still about 10 cars to go. 9 remaining in this group. We have 3 now on the clock.
It's a clean 1 and 2. I think the message is out now, Steve. You've got to be on that yellow line. I think those guys are really on. Maybe they weren't aware it's changing, but you've seen it now. So if you miss that yellow line, that's a mistake at this point.
Well, you ask yourself what Blaney said about tire rubber. If maybe the yellow line, you're actually below it. Because in race trim, they were maybe 4 or 5 feet higher. And it seems like when they run the yellow line, they're for sure the left sides are out of that darkest area of the racetrack.
And as a driver, when I know the grip's on the yellow line, that means I cannot miss it on corner entry. If you don't get there, you're never going to, if you make that mistake early, you're never going to find your way back down there. So even if I can check my corner entry up just a little bit to make sure I do exactly what Eric Jones did, I've got to make that determination and execute on it.
You saw that when he went back to the gas, his car went up the racetrack and the time went away. So it's more on throttle problem, it looks like, for the 43. The in and the middle doesn't look bad. Power down, though, does not work very well.
Eric Jones, 10th overall in Group A practice as he times in with a 30.738. Now on the racetrack is going to be Ryan Blaney, the defending series champion. Was competing for the win on some late race restarts with Christopher Bell last week and got taken out in one of them. Ended up finishing outside the top 20. But luckily was able to get a win at Iowa a couple weeks ago, which locked him into the playoffs. But a lot of speed in this 12 car over the last 3 weeks or so. Race winning speed at Gateway, Iowa, and New Hampshire. As we go to a bigger oval here on an intermediate track, or a more like intermediate track. Progressive banking. Faster overall speeds here. We'll see if this 12 team can keep the mojo going with race winnable cars. Qualifying has not been great for the two Penske Fords of Blaney and Logano, although Cindric is at the top of the speed chart still for his qualifying lap. Blaney jumps into the top 5 for now, 5th with a 30.334. But I don't think that lap time is going to hold up considering who we still have left to qualify from this group. Todd Gilliland is now on the racetrack in the 38. Kim Kuhn talking with Corey Heim.
It's hard to say. I'm not used to this delta between practice and qualifying and the Group A and Group B stuff, but it seems like it's really picking up. So we had a decent lap time for our group, and I think if we back that up, we'll be in good shape. But just so grateful for 2311 Racing, Mobile One, Chuck Racing. It's such an awesome opportunity to be here with these guys, and they've done such a great job preparing me for this moment these last couple months. So super grateful for everyone involved and excited to see what we can show for it.
Good luck. It's been fun to watch.
Corey Heim will be one of the first drivers to go out and qualify in Group B's practice. Actually, I think he'll be the very first driver to qualify as he is a non-chartered entry for this weekend. Again, an extra entry for 2311 Racing. Todd Gilliland finished his lap up, and he was 11th overall with a 30.722. Had a big moment in turns 1 and 2 on his qualifying lap. He also had a big moment in practice on the other end in 3 and 4, so handling definitely not right on the 38 of Gilliland. Here today in these very slick, hot track conditions. Ty Gibbs just wrapping up his qualifying lap will bump Blaney out of the top 5 and move to the top of the charts overall. Gibbs, who was fastest in practice for both the Xfinity and qualified on the pole for the Xfinity race earlier, was fastest in practice for Cup, and maybe has a shot to go for the pole here in the Cup race as well. A 30.149 for Gibbs. It's going to be tough to at least knock him out of the top 5. In fact, impossible to knock him out of the top 5. He is locked in with only 4 drivers still to qualify. Defending winner of this race, Ross Chastain, will be next. Felt he has speed that's capable to get into the top 5 and have a shot at the pole in round 2. Pretty good exit speed off turn 2, though still tracking in the red on corner entry to turns 3 and 4 compared to where Gregson was on his lap. Now Gregson currently on the bubble in 5th. Chastain, again, good off the corner exit. digging to the line, but not going to be able to get up into the top 5. 7th for Chastain with a 30.338. And that will lock Austin Cindric now into the Fast 5. Josh Berry, Hendersonville, Tennessee native, suburb of Nashville, had his home track this weekend. His first Cup start here. Coming off a top 10 a week ago at New Hampshire. Looking to keep the good times rolling there also, as he is more than likely in a must-win situation to try to get himself into the playoffs, looking for a good starting spot for tomorrow's race on top of it. Great lap for Josh Berry that will get him into the top 5. And he goes to the top of the charts, a 30.088. Berry with the quick time, and he will have a shot to rerun for the pole in round 2. Alex Bowman, Michael McDowell, the 2 on the bubble. The last 2 to qualify will be Tyler Reddick and Kyle Larson in that order here for Group A. Reddick on the track right now, beginning his lap into turns 1 and 2. Already tracking in the green on Michael McDowell from his get up to speed lap to the early going of his time trial lap. Still tracking in the green, but only by about 100th of a second or so into turn 3. It's going to be very close for this final spot. How good can Reddick be through 3 and 4? Picked up a lot of ground through 3 and 4, and he is going to lock himself into the Fast 5. Reddick to second, 0.06 of a second slower than Berry. Another 30. Oh, that was a 30.094 for Reddick. And Kyle Larson, who has the most poles of any Cup driver this season, the last to go again, as we've seen many times already this year, with him being the points leader. Again, the metric system to set the qualifying order up is based off of your most recent finish, where you are in owners and driver standings as well. So Larson, tail end of Group A, trying to knock out his teammate Alex Bowman from the Fast 5. Has a little bit of a wiggle through 3 and 4, but still stays on the throttle. And still is able to put down a great lap despite the loose maneuver there at the race car in the center of 3 and 4. Larson goes to the top of the charts with a 30.035. And that lap time from Larson was the fastest we've seen today through Cup practice and now into Cup qualifying. A 159.414 mile per hour average speed on his qualifying lap. So again, your Fast 5 from Group A: Kyle Larson, Josh Berry, Tyler Reddick, and Austin Cindric. Those drivers will have a shot to requalify for the pole. 1 Chevy, 2 Fords, and 2 Toyotas from this group will move on. A lot more Chevys, the other half of the Toyotas in Group B, and very few Fords in this second group. All the Penske cars were in Group A. Now, whether you're in Group A or Group B, that is randomized, but the order in which you qualify in each group is based off of the driver owner standings and where you finished in the last race. So that's the metric for your starting lineup order for qualifying and the order in which you go out to qualify. But again, splitting of the groups, that is completely randomized on a week-to-week basis. Giddy Sadie, thanks for tuning in. See you in the chat. Earl Arnold Jr., Wade Solinsky, thanks for tuning in also. Appreciate everybody that is tuned in for this live commentary stream. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. Larry, thanks for tuning in as well. Larson's best driver out there, no matter what he drives. I have to agree with you. More often than not, that does seem to be the case. But yeah, definitely be sure to hit that like button on the stream. We're at 57 likes. We did get to our goal of 50 already. But let's try to get this up close to 100. We got well more than that many people watching. And if you're not subscribed as well, be sure to hit the subscribe button. We have live commentary streams every NASCAR race weekend for races I don't go to in person, for Truck Xfinity Cup races, as well as Cup practice and qualifying every week as well. We've been doing this all season. We'll continue to do that through the rest of the year. Started doing it last season. Didn't do practice qualifying for the Cup Series until this year, but all Truck Xfinity Cup races were commentated last year, except for 3 Cup races that I ended up going to last year. Hopefully get to a few later in the season here. But as of right now, right here. Dark Crypto, Lloyd Barnes, Perry, also thanks for tuning in. Yep, Cup qualifying has already started. Group A is just finished. Again, the fast five from that group were Kyle Larson, Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, Austin Cindric, and Josh Berry. Not quite in that order, but those were the 5 drivers that have advanced into the second round of qualifying. Your first 9 drivers that will qualify out of Group B in this order will be Corey Heim, followed by Austin Dillon. Daniel Hemrick will be after him. Then Kyle Busch, Justin Haley, Corey LaJoy, Harrison Burton, Daniel Suarez, and Brad Keselowski. Corey Heim making yet another Cup start here. Moving the car around a lot on his warm-up lap on the back straightaway, trying to clean the tires at semi-high speeds. See how that works for him. Heim was actually 3rd fastest in his group in practice, so we'll see what kind of qualifying speed he has. A lot of shifting going on through practice and qualifying as well. From 4th to 5th gear on both ends of the racetrack. Very late shift, more than 2/3 of the way down the backstretch before getting to 5th gear and then dropping quickly to 4th on braking entry into turn 3. And you're not going to see him shift back to 5th gear, at least on the front stretch through qualifying. But you will see them do that in the race, as we saw in qualifying earlier as well. Not a great lap for Heim, a 30.453. I doubt that that's going to hold for a top 5 time. Austin Dillon is now next on the racetrack. He's had a couple of good qualifying performances in recent weeks. Race trim has not been great for RCR this year. Chase Briscoe standing with Kim Kuhn on Dillon's qualifying lap.
The biggest so yeah, I don't know. We'll see what we got. We didn't really get a whole lot of practice. We only ran 8 laps. We had a flat right rear, so not really sure what we're gonna have. So yeah, hopefully we made the right adjustments. Obviously, Josh was really fast. Even the other SHR cars were pretty good. So yeah, see if we can put down a good lap for our Rush Truck Center Sport.
A challenge today here with Chase, but a great week for him as he officially announced he will be moving to the 19 car over at JGR for 2025.
30.223 second lap time for Dillon, which does put him to the top between him and Corey Heim. Daniel Hemrick is now on the racetrack for his qualifying lap for Colleague Racing. His teammate for this weekend, AJ Allmendinger, was in Group A. AJ in the part-time ride, of course, Colleague Racing. We've seen several drivers in that 16 car this season. Allmendinger's ran several races. We've seen Derek Kraus in that car. Shane Van Gisbergen's ran a couple of them. I think Josh Williams has actually been in that car for a couple races this year also. Hemrick 3rd of 3 in Group B so far, a 30.594. And up next is Kyle Busch, the other RCR Chevrolet. Both of them in this second group. And we'll see where Busch is compared to his teammate Austin Dillon from Dillon's qualifying lap. Dillon tracking much better than Busch through 1 and 2. Kyle Busch was 29th overall in practice. Austin Dillon was outside the top 30. So both the RCR cars not looking like they have a lot of speed here to unload with this weekend yet again. Second for Busch to Dillon, but over 2/10 slower, a 30.439 for Busch. And more than likely, he will be starting deep in the field on race day tomorrow. Justin Haley, the other Rick Ware Racing Ford, is on track. His teammate this weekend, Riley Herbst, in the 15, was in the first group. Haley's had some stellar performances in the early summer months, late spring. Couple of top 10s. Nearly had another one last week in New Hampshire. Ran top 10 for most of the day. Once the race got back into the racing on the rain, those late race restarts, he had fallen out into the top 10. Ran as high as about 5th or 6th there in the late going. Unfortunately, finished outside the top 20. But the speed has definitely been there. Qualifying pace, so for Justin Haley here, we'll time him in 4th of 5, a 30.577 for Haley. Corey LaJoie now on the racetrack. Two of the three Spire cars in this second group. The only one that was in Group A was Zane Smith. Carson Hocevar will qualify, I think, after the commercial break, which will be coming in a few more qualifying runs. LaJoie into the Fast 5 for now, second fastest, splitting the RCR cars at the front of the field, a 30.350 for LaJoie. His best finish is 15th in 2021 of the 3 Nashville Superspeedway starts in the Cup Series for him. Harrison Burton is now on the racetrack in the 7th place spot, at least in the qualifying order. Austin Cindric and Josh Berry were the only two Fords to make their way into the top 5 through Group A qualifying. A pretty decent lap here by Burton so far. Definitely looking to be faster than Justin Haley. Might have a chance to be right up there with around Kyle Busch from his qualifying lap. Yeah, he does beat Busch. Harrison Burton, 3rd of 7 so far in Group B qualifying, a 30.388 for him. And now is Daniel Suarez in the 99. Well, Trackhouse Racing Shop is back in the Charlotte area like most in the Cup Series. Their headquarters based out of Nashville, Tennessee. This considered maybe their home track, or at least their home away from home track here this weekend. Of course, Chastain was able to win this race a season ago. Daniel Suarez has had a couple of top 10 performances here in the past, although he's only got a couple this season. It could be a good weekend to have a good weekend if you're Daniel Suarez. He's already locked into the playoffs with his win at Atlanta early in the season. Suarez will not rerun for the pole. He is 6th of 8. Pretty poor qualifying lap there, 30.557 for Suarez. Up next is Brad Keselowski now for RFK Racing. Again, Keselowski was fastest in Group B practice. And we'll see what kind of a qualifying lap he'll have here. He's been very hot and cold in qualifying this year. Maybe more cold than hot. His teammate Chris Buescher is out-qualified in most of the weeks, but in the race finishing results, it's been Keselowski slightly better than Buescher throughout the season. Although a qualifying lap here for Keselowski looking pretty quick of those that have already made a lap. Replicating his practice time. 30.208, in fact, faster than when Brad ran in practice. And that is the fastest lap of Group B qualifying so far, so Keselowski to the top of the charts yet again for Group B on-track activity. Full straight commercial break on the USA Network now. The final 10 drivers to try to go for these top 5 spots in Group B in this order following the commercial break will be Carson Hocevar, William Byron, John Hunter Nemechek, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, Chase Elliott, Chris Buescher, Martin Truex Jr., and then Christopher Bell will be the last driver to run. Silent Al Scribe, Crafty David, thanks for tuning in as well. Kevin Beeler. Where's Blaney? Blaney was outside the top 5 in Group A. I think he was right around 6th or 7th there at the finish. I think he was 7th or 8th, actually, because Reddick and Larson, the last 2 to go, got into the top 5. So either 7th or 8th in Group A for Blaney. So he'll be starting on the outside road for tomorrow's race, outside the top 10. Just over 150 concurrent viewers here in practice. Some of the most we've practiced and qualified, now into the qualifying portion of the stream. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Only 65 likes, though, so hit that like button. Haley ran top 5 last week. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was as high as 5th at one point in the late going to the race. But ran top 10 for most of that, really, second half of the race. 6th through 10th place position for most of it. And fortunately, though, ended up falling out of it by the finish. Some of those late race restarts did not go his way. We'll take a quick ad break before they get into more qualifying here. Listening live to Ally 400 time trial run here at Nashville Superspeedway.
And infield camping opportunity. Christmas celebration you haven't seen. Don't miss Brickyard Weekend, July 19th to 21st. Buy now and stay at IMS.com.
Qualifying continuing for Group B, and this is Carson Osenbar, 21-year-old out of Portage, Michigan. And she is getting ready to take the green.
And we go back Carson as he's going to be on the gas, getting everything he can. It's a very aggressive driver. He's done a really nice job.
He was in the green when he took the green, so a little bit faster entering turn one. And this is to bump Kyle Busch out of the top five. Good 3 and 4.
Great laps.
So Hulsevar is going to break into the top five, and it will be in that third spot, just behind Austin Dillon at a 30.26.
Good lap for him. I don't think it'll hold, though.
William Byron and this team, you know, they've been so fast. Definitely a championship contending team. I feel like they were great in this practice. This team always seems to find a way to step up. Did not have a good week last week at all. There's enough talent, though. They'll recover.
1 and 2 is great right there for William Byron. Let's see if he can back it up on the other side of the track. Kyle Larson, ours fastest in Group A, watching on.
I would say that's an improvement.
30.16 for Byron.
Now the question begs, what is good enough to advance? You know, is 16 enough with this many cars to run? Or 20 for Keselowski, or 22 for Dillon?
Nemechek, not as much speed getting into turn one as we've seen out of LaJoy. And going the wrong direction through 1 and 2.
He just does not have any trust that it's going to go the direction he wants it to go. You can see he's lifting early, and even lifting early, he still can't go back to the gas quickly.
You see it. Only car slower in this session was Hemrick.
Not the lap Nemechek was looking for, as Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will now be on the clock.
He hopes his camera's still there when the race is over. Yeah. A good lap so far. It's been eventful. A little bit of car movement there.
Mentioned on Baby Watch, Madison home watching this qualifying session as Ricky lost all that speed he had coming off of turn 4, and so he's 6th quickest, won't make it into the top 5.
Right in the middle of 3 and 4. Not sure if it was loose and he couldn't turn the car, if it got tight, but that's where they lost it.
Comes Denny Hamlin carrying a lot of speed into one.
That car looked really good through the middle. Really just rolled, just followed the radius of the corner, Jeff, like you said. You know, didn't have to overslow it to get it to the bottom. Another really good-looking corner. It's funny. We talk about how hard you have to drive him, and I know he is. But when a car drives good, like this one apparently is a 30.01, over 10th and a half faster than Byron, it looks easy. I'm not saying it is, but when they drive good, it looks easier. I mean, that car had very little movement. It just followed the radius of the corner.
Coach Chase Briscoe in the 14, as he's on the clock now entering turn 1.
Talked about they got great limited.
So Hamlin fastest overall, best lap we've seen in practice or qualifying today, a 30.012. That was even faster than Kyle Larson's fastest lap at the tail end of Group A qualifying, and of course faster than Ty Gibbs's lap, which was fastest in practice overall. Chase Briscoe finishing up his qualifying lap will not get into the top 5. Hocevar still holds on for 5th. 4 more cars still to go. Elliott, Buescher, Truex, and Bell in that order. Lap time for Chris Buescher, 6th with a 30.314. So again, Chase Elliott is now on the track. He's the last Chevy to qualify for round 1 overall. Chase Elliott trying to break his way into the top 5. Tracking in the red through turns 1 and 2. Into 3 and 4 this time. Going to have a big pickup to get by Hocevar. Center of the corner. Looked like he might have gotten out of the gas a little early to roll it deeper on the exit. Get to the gas sooner, and that allows him to get into the top 5 for at least right 2-6. Still got 3 more fast cars to qualify behind him. Does look like the RFK Fords have speed this weekend. Joe Gibbs Toyotas always seem to qualify well. Of course, Hamlin top time overall. Gibbs was quick in qualifying through Group A. So I don't think Elliott or Austin Dillon's times are going to be able to hold. He's really going to be tight right around where Keselowski's at. Now, William Byron and Denny Hamlin, they're locked into the Fast 5 already. Buescher will knock out Chase Elliott. 3rd fastest for Buescher. And that locks Buescher now into the Fast 5. A 30.204, just 4 1,000ths of a second quicker than Keselowski. So now Keselowski and Austin Dillon are the 2 bubble drivers, with Martin Truex Jr. and Christopher Bell still to qualify. And Truex already starting in the green for his qualifying lap through turns 1 and 2. Rolled the entry pretty hard, but then off the exit of the corner, he couldn't get back into the gas system because of how deep he entered turn 1. Now he's going to have to pick up quite a bit of time in 3 and 4 to knock Dillon out of the top 5. He's picking up some time there. He's going to get within 1/10 of a second, but that's all the closer he's going to get. Dillon holds on. Brad Keselowski's now locked into the top 5, and Truex will qualify 8th with a 30.294. So I think the big mistake there in that qualifying lap for Truex was getting off of turn 2, it appeared. And Dillon, who was the 2nd driver to qualify from this group, may be able to hold on for a top 5 spot, but he's going to have to hold on from last week's winner, Christopher Bell. Bell with a pole award already this season also. Tracking by over 1/10 of a second to the green into turns 3 and 4. And as long as he doesn't have a major hiccup, it looks like Bell will get into the top 5, and he easily does. And he's very close to Denny Hamlin's lap time. 2nd for Bell, a 30.022, just 100th of a second slower than his teammate Denny Hamlin. That will knock Austin Dillon out. And so just like we had in Group A qualifying, 2 Toyotas, 2 Fords, and 1 Chevy, same for Group B, with Denny Hamlin's fastest lap being a 30.012. Bell's lap at 30.022, and that lap from Bell was also quicker than Larson's lap from round 1, same for Hamlin. So those are maybe some of your favorites to try to go for the pole when the second round begins. Again, your Fast 5 from Group B, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, William Byron, Chris Buescher, and Brad Keselowski, all in that order. And the starting lineup positions 11 through 38 have now been solidified, with, again, the finishing order 6 through 19 for Group B. will make up the inside. And 6 through 19 in Group A will make up the outside rows from rows 6 on back for tomorrow's Cup race at Nashville. The top 10 about to requalify, and again, a shot at the pole here for each of those 10. Mel Turnbull, thanks for tuning in. Random, thanks for tuning in also. So again, be sure to hit the like button on the stream if you haven't done so yet. We're at 71 likes overall. Let's try to get that to 100 here before the end of the stream. Our goal was to get to 50, so we've definitely well surpassed that. We hit our goal during the truck race last night of 100 as well. Don't forget, we will have live commentary coverage for today's NASCAR Xfinity Series race at 5 p.m. Eastern, so a little over an hour from now, we will be live again for NASCAR Xfinity Series racing at Nashville. That'll be a 250-mile race. And we will also have live commentary coverage for tomorrow's Cup race. That will begin with our pre-race at 3 p.m. Eastern. A little less than 24 hours from now. Again, 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow afternoon for the Ally 400 Cup Series race at Nashville. We'll take our final ad break of this stream and then take you to the end after that. Again, you're listening live to Ally 400 qualifying right here on KRC. Let you listen into more of the actual broadcast coverage on the USA Network as soon as I come back from break here. And then once we get cars on track, I'll take over again. Now, the order you see on screen is the exact order that they will go out for this final round of qualifying. We'll start off with the Group A drivers in descending orders, position 5 through 1. So Larson will be the last of that group to go in. And once Group B hits the racetrack, they'll go in that same descending order from 5th through 1st. So Denny Hamlin will be the last driver to try to go for the pole here today. And Austin Cindric will be the first. So Austin Cindric will go out, then Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, Josh Berry, Kyle Larson will be the first 5 in order. Then Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, William Byron, Christopher Bell, and Denny Hamlin.
11. It's right. See how covering everything on the front stretch to the start finish line. And once again, the shots from a year ago were amazing. Right there at Buckingham Fountain, the Navy Pier, so many different great sights when you go to Chicago. And we'll be enjoying that again next weekend. Here's how it will go down. On Saturday, Countdown to Green on NBC and Peacock at 3 o'clock gets us ready for the Xfinity Series race, 3:30. And then on Sunday at 4 o'clock, it will be the Cup Series turn to be back out there. And SVG repeats. Will be embedded with Tyler Reddick in Stage 2 next week on the street course. Kim.
Yeah, and catching up with RFK teammates Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. Let's ask Chris, did you get everything the car had to give out of your first run, or is there more left in round 2 of qualifying?
There's a little more in there. After practice, this change off pretty good through the run, so I was really happy with the adjustments. The team did a really nice job with us with Subrace.com Mustang, so it's good. We made some good qualifying effort after a tough couple of weeks, and this is taking a start and got another chance.
That's Chris Buescher. We'll see Chris Buescher as well as 9 other Cup Series drivers in round 2 of qualifying from Nashville Super Speedway coming up next.
Brad Keselowski was standing there, and he was probably expecting to get an interview along with Chris Buescher, but they have cut the commercial break before that. He looked astonished that Kim Kuhn did not want to interview him at that time, but maybe she came up to both of them saying, hey, we're going to get an interview with both, and then somebody was probably telling her in her ear, hey, we got to go to break, like right before that. Because Brad was there too. 79 likes on the stream now. We're 21 away from 100. I don't know what the most likes we've had on a practice or qualifying stream this year is off the top of my head. We've got to be getting close to the record if we haven't already gotten there. Be the third week in a row we'll set some sort of a stream record on the channel. This one for practice and qualifying, perhaps. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back through all of them real quick before they come back from commercial break, but I'm trying to get on that. 31 last week, even though it got rained out. 40. Sonoma, we had 42. Gateway, 32. 56 for Charlotte. Wilkesboro was 67. Let's see it for Darlington. It's good. It's gonna be close. We had 98 for Kansas. That might be the one to beat. So continue to hit that like button. I think Kansas is gonna be the one to beat. No, Martinsville, we had 111. Never mind. Martinsville was 111. Daytona 500 had to have quite a few, I would imagine. No, 93 at Daytona. Well, that's because practice wasn't incorporated with that. It was just a qualifying stream that day. All right, so 111 is the number to beat right now. I don't know if we'll get that high, but let's at least try to get to 100. So forget trying to set the stream record. We're definitely capable of getting 111. We got well more than that many people watching right now. Right, 83 currently. Here, Castillo is at the track right now. Can't go live. Yeah, I do remember him stating, I forget when it was. It was a while back, but he said that he was going to be at this race and at Bristol this season. And there might have been another race in there as well, but I can't remember which one exactly he might have been going to also. Unless he had already been to one. Yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in. And thanks for him for giving the shout out for my platform whenever he's not able to stream, that you guys are able to come in and have some sort of ability to watch and or listen live to race day coverage, or in this case, practice and qualifying coverage here for the Cup Series as well. Hopefully he has a good time at the track, and hopefully he doesn't burn too badly. It's definitely hot there this weekend. Which it pretty much has been every year they've been at Nashville, with it always being in mid to late June. Get that Tennessee heat, that Nashville heat. Especially with a lot of them being day races. Yeah, last year was at night, but not this year. During the day. Truck race was at night last night. As soon as I come back from this next commercial break, we should get into qualifying for this second and final round. Try to set the starting lineup for those top 10 positions. And positions 11 through 38 already set up through round 1. Qualifying, these were the fast 5 from Group A and Group B that will re-qualify with a chance to go for the pole. Can Kyle Larson get his 5th pole of the season? Be insane if he's going to be able to do that. If he gets 5 poles in the first 19 races, it's over 25% of the qualifying runs we've had this year that he would have gotten a pole for. Every 4 to 5 races on average, he's starting up at the front of the field. He's right smack dab in the middle of this group, 5th of 10 to go out. Again, Austin Cindric will be the first. He gets the signal from the NASCAR official to roll out, cleaning the tires at the end of pit road as much as he can. Interesting to see what the lap time differential will be between not Group A, Group B, but from round 1 to round 2. Some weeks we see a lot of fall off. Some weeks we see quite a bit of pickup with the heat cycle. It really varies. The much older surfaces is where we tend to see a lot of fall off from one lap to the next. Nashville is a roughly older concrete surface, but we haven't seen a lot of fall off, at least with these cup cars through practice and qualifying. About a 20 to 30 plus lap run, we only saw about 3/4 of a second fall off through a majority of those faster drivers in the field at that time. Austin Cindric wrapping up his lap, a 30.134 for him. And he does pick up about a 1/10 of a second from his lap in round 1 to his fast lap here in round 2. Ty Gibbs is now on the racetrack again. He was fastest overall in practice earlier today, trying to go for yet another pole this season. Got his first career pole on the last intermediate track we were at Charlotte for the 600. So trying to go for career pole number 2 on the season. Tracking in the green, at least compared to Cindric, of these first 2 cars to go out in round 2 of qualifying. Ty Gibbs with a 30.028. That was faster than his lap in qualifying from round 1. It was also faster than his practice time lap earlier today, which were both, well, I guess he had a 31 in qualifying, but he had a 30.0 in practice. Not quite as quick as the lap time that Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell had, though, on their qualifying laps from round 1. Tyler Reddick working his way up off of turn 2. Now, NASCAR did make a rule change to qualify for the second round because of the variance in speeds from one group to the next being relatively different. And you usually see a lot of one group over the other finishing in those top 5 positions. The fastest overall lap time will still get the pole of these final 10. But kind of similar to how the first round went, Group B will make up the outside row. Group A will be the inside row. Or Group A, the outside, Group B, the inside. I said that rules reversed the first time, I apologize. But yeah, Group B makes up the inside, Group A the outside, just as they would have in the positions outside the top 10. It's the same here, except for, again, the fastest overall, who still gets the pole. A 30 flat on his lap for Reddick. Fastest lap we've seen today. Josh Berry finishing up his qualifying lap will be fastest overall now. Berry with a 29.972. First sub 30-second lap time we've seen in qualifying, and it comes from the nearby Hendersonville, Tennessee native. So lap times are getting quicker here. Josh Berry has the time to beat. Kyle Larson is now on the racetrack trying to go for his 5th pole of the 2024 season. He's tracking in the green on the backstretch, only by about 1/100 of a second though over Berry's lap time. Drives in much deeper than Berry. Through 3 and 4, trying to get it to stick. Ticker's falling down a bit off the exit of turn 4. It's going to be close at the line. Berry holds on by 9/1000ths of a second. Larson with a sub 30-second lap time, but Berry still at the top of the charts. A 29.981 for Larson. So Josh Berry has the fastest lap of qualifying. 5 drivers still to go. Final 5 will be Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, William Byron, Christopher Bell, and Denny Hamlin in that order. It'd be cool to see Josh Berry qualifying the pole at his home track in his first ever Cup start here. Kenneth Clark, Corey Spencer Racing, thanks for tuning in as well. Where did Ross qualify? I think he was right there with Blaney. I think he was one spot behind Blaney in Group A qualifying from round 1. Neither Blaney or Chastain made it into Group 2. So 5 more drivers to qualify. Then we will wrap up qualifying here on the USA Network. And again, we will be live at 5 p.m. Eastern, a little over an hour from now, for today's NASCAR Xfinity Series race coverage as well. Cup coverage tomorrow begins at 3 p.m. Eastern if I don't see you for the Xfinity race later this evening. Martin McElhaney, thanks for tuning in. Barry gets better and better every week. Like to see him in the Wood Brothers 21. I almost feel like that would be a downgrade in equipment, though. That's the only... that's a tough spot. If you got nowhere else to go to stay in Cup, though, I mean, I guess that would be where you have to go. But we do know there's a Cup ride still available also with Haas next year. That may be a downsize in equipment also. I don't know how much more of a downside it would be compared to where SHR is already at. You'd imagine that Haas would just be keeping the best of their employees at that case. And we do know that Rodney Childress is, of course, the best crew chief at SHR right now, so we'll see. This is definitely a poll that I would say that Josh Berry wants to get more than anybody else in the field this weekend, so we'll see if he can do it. Same could almost go for the race win as well. Brad Keselowski finishing up his warm-up lap. Now to the line to begin his time trial lap. Tracking in the green up off of turn 2 briefly. Now back in the red, middle of the backstretch, losing a little time. He's going to have a big pickup in 3 and 4 if he wants to beat Barry's lap. For 3 and 4, much deeper on corner entry for Keselowski, but by the time he gets back to the gas, that lap time is fading. Brad Keselowski will not get the pole. 4th fastest of 6 in this final group. Final round, a 30.012 for Keselowski, nearly 2/10 of a second pickup from his round 1 lap. And Chris Buescher, who was only about 0.04 of a second quicker than Keselowski in round 1, will now try to be quicker than him again here in round 2 and also try to go for that top spot on Josh Berry. Doesn't look like Buescher's going to be able to get it done either. Wrapping up his lap time. And Buescher was 6th fastest of 7, so even slower than Brad's lap just moments ago before that. A 30.101 for Buescher. And now it's William Byron's turn. 3 drivers to go to try to knock Berry off the pole. Byron off into turns 1 and 2, tracking in the green. Byron, another driver who has several poles throughout his Cup career. Probably has the most within the last few seasons. I'd say he's probably got the most poles, at least off the top of my head, in the next-gen era. Although it doesn't have as many this year. Had a big wiggle in the middle of 3 and 4. He was tracking in the green until the car got a little loose off turn 4, and that's going to cost him a shot at the pole. Cost him a couple other positions in the qualifying order as well. 5th for Byron, a 30.013. He is the second fastest from Group B so far. So Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin will be the last two drivers to try to take down Josh Berry for the top spot. Bell tracking in the green through turns 1 and 2. Down the back stretch, he's about 0.04 of a second to the good on corner entry now to 3 and 4. Berry's had a good corner exit to turn 4. That was probably the best part of his lap compared to everybody else who's made their run in round 2 of qualifying. Same can be said here for Bell, but he's not tracking downwards quick enough. Bell to the top. 29.954 for Christopher Bell as he tries to go for his second pole of the season. Picking up where he left off after a win at New Hampshire a week ago. Started 4th that day with qualifying getting washed out and having to go to the metric system to set the starting lineup. His teammate Denny Hamlin had the fastest lap overall in qualifying in round 1. Hamlin had a 30.012, which would be fast enough for 6th overall in this final group. Hamlin into turns 3 and 4, getting out of the gas a little early on entry to 3. Trying to climb back into the throttle off the exit of turn 4. It is climbing. Denny Hamlin is going to get the pole as the last driver to go out, sweeping qualifying today. He had the fastest round overall in round 1, fastest in round 2. No question mark here for who was the fastest on Saturday for the Ally 400, and that is Denny Hamlin. Again, Hamlin at 29.859 on his lap. Almost a 10th quicker than Christopher Bell. Hamlin will be starting first on race day tomorrow. The rest of the top 10, Josh Berry will be outside of the front row in second with the way the metric system goes here. Row 2 will be Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson. Row 3 for Brad Keselowski, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, and Ty Gibbs will make up row number 4. Behind them in row number 5 will be Chris Buescher, Austin Cindric. Row 6 for Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott, and Michael McDowell. Row 7. Carson Hocevar, Noah Gragson make up row number 8. Behind them in row 9 will be the veterans Martin Truex Jr. and Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain in row 10. Row 11 for Corey LaJoie, Ryan Preece. Row 12 for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Bubba Wallace. Deeper in the field in row 13 will be Harrison Burton and Joey Logano. Row 14 for tomorrow's race will be Kyle Busch, AJ Allmendinger. Corey Heim making his first start for 23XI Racing, at least on the inside of row 15, with Riley Herbst to his outside. And row 16 will be Daniel Suarez and Todd Gilliland. Row number 17 is Justin Haley, Eric Jones, John Nemechek, and Zane Smith. And row 18, rounding out the field in row 19, Daniel Hemrick and Chad Fincham. Denny Hamlin just climbing out of his race car now. And here's a word with your pole sitter for tomorrow's Ally 400.
This heat,
Well, you're definitely going to want a good driving race car because you don't want to have to put tires on every caution. Yeah.
And Denny Hamlin with the pole for tomorrow's race. Good in qualifying. What do you have for the race tomorrow?
Yeah, I felt really comfortable in race trim. Just needed to work on the balance a little bit, but the speed was there. So, really happy with this whole FedEx Camry team. They brought a great car today and in qualifying sessions so far this year. But to get a good one today, that pit stall will help.
You had one of the best cars in last year's race here. As you look at last year's race, is there anything you guys feel like you can improve on here tomorrow?
Yeah, I think our car is better than it was last year for sure. I could just tell that through practice right away. We fixed the things that I wanted to work on. So, great job by the team. That they gave me a car that's that fast. It's just my job to go out there and execute it for them, and we did that today.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Denny Hamlin will lead.
42nd career pole for Denny Hamlin, his second of 2024. That is going to wrap up our practice and qualifying stream right here. Thanks for tuning in over the last couple of hours. Still have one more stream to go here today, and that will be the NASCAR Xfinity Series race coverage, which will begin at 5 p.m. Eastern Time at the top of the next hour. Appreciate everybody that had tuned in here for this one. New and or returning viewers, be sure to hit the like button on your way out if you haven't yet. We are at 90 right now. Our goal was 50, so we will surpass that. Thank you for that. Subscribe for more NASCAR content as well. Over 70% of viewers on the channel in the last 30 days are not subscribed, so definitely hit that subscribe button. Helps grow the channel quite a bit more as well. But see you in about another hour for Xfinity Series race coverage. If I don't see you then, tomorrow's Cup coverage will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern for the Ally 400. Again, that will be tomorrow. Thanks, everybody, for watching. See you in about another hour for our next stream.